Apple shares under pressure here as investors weigh signals on weak demand for the tech giant's new iPhone 16. Analysts noting delivery times for the new iPhone 16 Pro models indicating weaker than expected demand. According to TF International securities analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, first weekend pre-order sales for the iPhone 16 series estimated to be about 13% lower from last year's iPhone 15 series first weekend sales. Here to discuss is Tom Forte, Maxim Group Managing Director and Senior Consumer Internet Analyst. Tom, it's good to see you. So the reason this report, listen, it made some headlines, Tom, because it is Ming-Chi Kuo, and he is a well-known, well-respected analyst. If you live in the world of Apple, you know the name Ming-Chi Kuo, and he does look over the pre-order data, Tom, and warns of weaker iPhone 16 demand. Just interested in what you made of these reports, Tom.
Sure, Josh. So I think the challenge for Apple, as reflected in those reports, is that they're trying to get a consumer to buy new hardware, which is coming out in the month of September. But the best selling point for that hardware, especially for consumers in the US, Apple Intelligence, the AI-related features, those aren't coming out until beta next month. And then it's more challenging for sales in Europe and China, where the AI-related features are coming next year, perhaps later. So I think that I'm not surprised that you're seeing a slow start for the 16 lineup on this gap between the hardware and the software.
Can I ask you, Tom, though, can you look at pre-orders historically as a good gauge of demand?
I think so. I think that the pre-orders are an indicator of to what extent consumers were, especially like pent-up demand, which is, I think, another concern I have on the AI story for Apple. If you compare that with the 5G story, where there clearly was a lot of pent-up demand. So yes, I think pre-orders are a good data point.
The bottom line, Tom, for investors still trying to make a decision here, make a call of whether the new iPhone 16 series is going to, create a meaningful jumpstart for an iPhone upgrade cycle. I think last time we talked to you, Tom, I don't want to mischaracterize you. It sounded like you were a bit cautious on that. Where are you right now?
Yeah, so the analysis we did suggested, or our take is that the upgrade cycle for AI, there will be one, but it'll be half the size of 5G. And we looked at the data for iPhone sales. There clearly was pent-up demand heading into the 5G rollout. And then there's regulatory challenges in Apple when it comes to rolling out Apple Intelligence in Europe, which is about 25% of sales, and in China, which is 19% of sales. So yes, upgrade cycle, but half as significant as 5G.
And what do you say, Tom? I've talked to some bulls who, I think a big part of their thesis is just the sheer volume. I mean, hundreds of millions of active iPhones out there that, according to their number crunching, are at least 3 years old. And so when I talk to them, they say that's really it. Like, that's just a lot of people who are waiting for an upgrade. They're going to like the faster processor, the battery, the camera. What's your response to that?
My response to that is that each year, Apple essentially upgrades the processor speed, the camera, a lot of those features, and it hasn't necessarily pushed the needle on an incremental amount of consumers upgrading their Apple device. The good news for consumers is the devices hold their value, last a long time. I think there'll, again, be an AI upgrade cycle. It's just going to take time, and it isn't helping the company that there's this gap between the hardware and the software.
Do we know, Tom, how excited consumers actually are about these new AI features? Because traditionally, you would upgrade your phone. It's actually based on the hardware, right? The processor, the battery, the camera, maybe a new design.
Yeah, so I think that there is interest from consumers in AI-enabled phones. If you look at the advertising from Samsung or you look at the advertising from Apple, I think there's some element of education here. They're trying to explain the new functionality that AI is going to bring to a smartphone, either making it better for you to use your calendar or summarizing emails, things of that nature. But yeah, I think that you'll see an upgrade cycle. I just think it's going to take some time.
Final question, Tom. Any line of sight to have these new AI-enabled iPhones compare and contrast, Tom, to what rivals offer, the Googles, the Samsungs?
I think, again, the big selling point to the consumer will be being part of the Apple ecosystem versus Android. So I think that's at the same time, Josh, I'm monitoring the potential for the flip iPhone and things of that nature. And consumers who may want that form factor, the foldable phone, that also could be softening sales for the 16 lineup. But yeah, hard to say on the Apple versus Android, other than wanting to be part of the Apple ecosystem versus Android.
Tom, always great to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Josh.